Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Legal Gym Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about combination mark logos. I know, this is totally thrilling, right? I can't think of a better way to kick off the new year, and I do apologize that I haven't posted an episode in a few weeks, aside from the fact that we were getting very busy around the end of the year, just with the holidays and family and the kids being out of school. I was dealing with a little bit of a cold still and some crud in my throat that made it hard to speak. So I decided to take a couple weeks off and get ready for the new year. And here we are back in January. It is 2023 and we're ready to go. And I'm really excited about the year to come. We've got a lot of things planned for this year, a lot of great content scheduled for you. And we're also going to be bringing on some guests in the upcoming year. So make sure you stay tuned. If you haven't already subscribed and leave a rating and review for us, we would greatly appreciate that. And just do that in iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast episodes. So today's episode was actually inspired by a client of mine who has had a lot of questions about her logo. And she is trying to file a combination mark logo. And she wants to make some changes to that in the future. And we've been going back and forth, and I've been trying to explain to her what she can and can't do with the combination mark logo. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I'm going to be talking about exactly what a combination mark logo is, as well as the other types of trademark applications that you could file with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office or the USPTO. And of course, for the show notes for today's episode, which will include all the links and resources for everything that I'm going to be discussing today, make sure you head on over to hawthornelaw.net/36. That's the number 36. All right, let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Before we get into the amazing content for today's episode, I wanted to let you know about a new training that I'm working on. I'm going to be teaching my 4R framework to get your trademarks registered quickly and easily. In addition, I'll be sharing the top 3 mistakes that I see online entrepreneurs make that can sabotage their brand and even force them into bankruptcy. So if you want to sleep better at night knowing that your brand is protected, you definitely don't want to miss this training. Just head on over to hawthornelaw.net/trademark to get notified when the training is live. One more time, that's hawthornelaw.net/trademark. And don't forget, everyone who attends this training is going to get a free gift. So if you're an entrepreneur who is building a brand online, this is one training you don't want to miss. One more time, head on over to hawthornelaw.net/trademark to get signed up for the notification list today. I think the best place to start with this topic is to go into the different types of trademark applications that are available to you when you are creating a business, or maybe you're in business or you've been in business for a while and you've just decided that now you realize how important it is to trademark your name or your brand name. And so let's talk about what the different options are available to you. And there's 3 primary options that I'm going to talk about. There's a word mark, there's a design mark, and there's what we're going to really be focusing on today, and that's the combination mark. The word mark is the simplest one. It's what most people will file when they think of registering their trademark application, and that's just words. So you could think of any brand name you can think of, Starbucks, Apple, Microsoft, Nike, anything like that. Those are all considered word marks. Those are names that have been registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to sell certain products or services. And so that's the basic thing. The nice thing about a word mark is you can register the words for your brand, and then you can change the fonts, you can change the colors to those words at any time you would like in the future, because what you're registering is the name. You're not necessarily registering the design elements of the name. So the second type of trademark application that we typically will file for clients are design marks, and these are graphic designs. So you can think about things like the Nike swoosh or the Apple that everyone has recognized to come with Apple computers, or maybe I don't know what you would call it, but on Starbucks they have like that weird logo that's on all the Starbucks cups and things like that. That would be considered a design mark. Anything like that does not have the brand name in the logo is considered a design mark. And so I've actually done this for quite a number of clients where they have a separate design mark and a word mark, and we file both those trademark applications for them. And the design is really intended to encapsulate what the brand is all about, maybe kind of tell the story of the brand or give a graphical representation of what the brand is about. And so those are design marks. Now, a combination mark is exactly what it sounds like. It combines a word mark and a design mark into one logo. And so a great example of this would be if any of you can think of Ralph Lauren. It has the name Ralph Lauren in stylized font with a polo player between the two words Ralph and Lauren. That would be a combination mark. It also could be a word mark with a design mark after it. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone. They're doing it that way. You don't have to register the combination mark in that type of instance. So if you had a word mark and then you wanted to include a design mark and you had and you wanted to put them together, you don't have to necessarily register them together. You could register the word mark and the design mark separately. Now, what some people will do to try and save money is they will register that as a combination mark. And I'm going to talk about why you should or shouldn't do that here today. But let's talk about some other examples of combination marks. If you can remember, and I don't even know if they're still in business, but TiVo, it had a basically a graphical image of a TV set with the stylized font and colors of the TiVo brand within that TV set. That is one combination mark. Burger King, until recently, they switched back to their older logo from the 60s and 70s, but they used to have a very stylized logo with kind of a blue half circle around it, and Burger King in the typeface is kind of represented the burger with two sides of a bun on either side of it. That was another combination mark. Pizza Hut has a combination mark where they've got the name Pizza Hut with kind of the roof of the hut, if you will, over top of that. That's another combination mark. So all those are combination marks. And so let's talk about why you might want to use a combination mark. It's perfect for a startup business that might be using a fanciful or arbitrary trademark name. In these cases, the company, is really trying to educate the public about what they do. And by having a graphical element in combination with the brand name in one mark, that is a really powerful way to do that. With a combination logo, they can kind of insert that graphic next to their chosen brand name or insert the brand name within the logo to help provide the context and clarity about what that brand actually represents, or even tell the story of that brand. So they could be used for startup companies. They are also great for established companies to help make it easier for people to recognize the brand in public, and again, to tell the story of what the brand is and what it is that they do. Now, combination logos should be very visually strong and hopefully explanatory at the same time. And that's where the rubber really meets the road with these combination logos, and why they can be difficult for solopreneurs or one-man shops or one-woman shops to really execute well, because you really have to have a strong background in graphical design, or you have to spend money to hire a graphical designer to help you. Now, there are services out there like 99 Designs or people on Fiverr or different things like that you could use to help you come up with a really cool logo. And if that's something that you're going to do, I would highly recommend that you consider hiring professional help if you're not graphically inclined. As me personally, I am not graphically inclined. If you've seen any of the graphics on my website and things like that, they're not great. I am not, that's not my forte, is graphic design. So I don't pretend to be a graphic designer. So you really need to have a professional probably help you with that, to design that combination mark, if that's the way you decide to go. Now, how would you create a strong combination mark? Well, first off, you want to make sure you use fonts that complement your brand. So, if you're very corporate and very structured and systematic, you might want stronger, sharper fonts, versus a brand that's more artistic and creative. You might want more flowing, less straight line type of fonts. But at the same time, the fonts that you that you do choose should make it easy to read the name of your brand and simple. Simple is always better. When you're trying to decide between a really complex mark and a simple mark is always going to be stronger because you don't want to detract from the graphical elements of your logo. You want to be able to have somebody look at that logo, look at that combination mark and say, oh, this is what that brand is all about, and really get a sense of what your brand is. When in doubt, as I mentioned before, err in favor of simplicity. And then you also want to make sure that your logo is fresh and original. Don't copy, obviously, other logo designs that you see out there. Come up with something that's uniquely yours. And make each element of the logo potentially represent something unique and interesting about your business or the customers or clients that you serve. That's how you create a good, strong combination mark, but there are some drawbacks of combination marks. And I think you really need to pay attention to this part of the episode because this is really, really important. A combination mark has to be done really well or you're just going to be wasting your money. Me personally, as an attorney, I do recommend that you register a word mark first so that you can be confident your chosen name is available. You don't want to waste all this time and money and effort, designing a combination mark with the name that you want to use, only to find that that name is in use by somebody else, or there's going to be a problem that somebody else, there's a likelihood of confusion issue out there with your mark. So you want to make sure that you can use your name before you go spending all this money on designing a combination mark. The next thing that you need to understand, and this is something that the client that I was working with on her current combination mark, I'm still working with, is you can't change the design mark after you file it. So where I think my client was getting confused is that with a word mark, you can change the font or the colors. But with a design mark, you cannot do that. If you want to change any elements of your design mark, you're going to have to file a brand new trademark application to get the protection that comes with that registration. So like I said, word marks can be changed, but design marks cannot. Now, that being said, the colors of the logo that you use in your logo design, you can change those so long as you do not claim color as part of the trademark design. And basically the way you do that is when you prepare your logo, you want to make sure it's in black and white or grayscale so that you're not claiming color as any particular part of the application. All that being said, should you use a combination mark if you're just getting started? This is probably what most of you want to know does this make sense? And generally speaking, I would say no, not until you've registered your initial brand name first. Once you've registered a brand name and you know that you're good to go, you know that you're not going to have any problems using that name, you may want to register a logo design next. I do think it's important to have a nice, strong logo, and that would probably be the second thing I would register. And then another smart option, even before you go to the combination mark, is to register a slogan or catchphrase that might tell people what your brand is all about and makes you recognizable in the marketplace. Those are really important, especially if you've come up with kind of a slogan or catchphrase on a podcast or YouTube channel that you use, or anything like that, where you've really, when you say this, people think of your brand and you want that to be unique to you. It's really important to register that intellectual property. Now, some people would argue that a combination marks, they're best reserved for large corporations with deep pockets and big marketing budgets. Now, I don't know if that's true. I'm not saying that you absolutely should not do a combination mark. If you've got a really cool design that really represents your brand and you feel really comfortable with, and you know that this is going to be the design that's going to represent your brand for many, many years to come, then yes, by all means, you probably should protect that design and register that combination mark. But if you're just starting out and funds are limited, you're going to get more bang for your buck, as well as additional flexibility in how to format your brand name if you opt for a word mark or a word mark and a design mark as two separate applications. If you are interested in learning more about how to legally claim the rights to your brand, then you're going to want to schedule a free branding strategy call with me. That's right. For a limited time, I'm offering a free strategy call to talk with me about the branding for your online business and how to make sure it is legally protected. So if you'd like to learn more, head on over to hawthornelaw.net/TM-video. Once again, that's hawthornelaw.net/TM-video. On that landing page, we have lots of great information about the process of protecting your brand so that you don't have to worry about getting a cease and desist letter or being forced to rebrand your business at a great expense. Once again, that website is hawthornelaw.net/TM-video, and I look forward to talking with you soon. All right, all you Legal Gym listeners, now that you know more about the combination mark logos, you are ready to implement, because if there's one thing we love to do over here at the Legal Gym, obviously, it's take massive action. So if you haven't already, make sure you check out the show notes page for today's episode. You can get a rundown of all the links and resources we talked about here today by visiting hawthornelaw.net/36. That's hawthornelaw.net/36. That's going to be the home base for all of your legal and business tools and resources to help you start, build, and of course, legally protect your online business. Thank you so much for listening today, and I look forward to seeing you or talking with you in the next episode, and Happy New Year.